Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. Back with his good friend, Mr. Greg Dickerson. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, Michael. Good to see you.
Hey, one of the things that you did on your YouTube channel, you got the opportunity to interview Grant Cardone. What was that, like late 2020, something like that?
Well, yeah, it was right after the pandemic hit. I think it was May
Okay.
2020, right when everything was just starting and a lot of uncertainty out there and didn't know what was really happening.
Yeah. So again, you know him, you run in the same circles, which is awesome. You had that great interview with him, which I loved. I've watched it several times. He was, he's a great promoter. He was just featured in a news article that I read, which I thought was pretty good. Near the end of it, he highlighted 3 areas where the average person messes up. And given that you know him, I thought you could help translate what he's saying and then also give your own little spin on it. You ready?
Yeah.
So the first one he talks about is discipline. The average person doesn't or lacks discipline. What do you think he means by that? And then give your spin on it, please.
Yeah. So discipline is, it's a lot of things. Consistency, doing what you have to do, whether you want to or not. Continuing to stay focused on what's working. So discipline, there's a lot of different ways you can look at discipline. Most people think of discipline as correction or whatever, but really at the end of the day, the initial aspects of discipline are doing the hard stuff, even when it's not working, even when you don't want to, even when everything is stacked against you. Now, there comes a time when, what you're doing is not working, you got to pivot. But when you see progress, when you have momentum, just staying with it, sticking with it, no matter what it takes, no matter what the odds are, no matter what it's coming against you, no matter how you feel, you get up and you do what you got to do, whether you want to do it or not. So that, to me, that's discipline, and sticking with that path, staying with that commitment. That's discipline to me.
Yeah, and when I think about some of Grant's older videos where he tells his story about going to car dealerships and selling how to sell cars and all of that, he talked about getting one meeting and then staying in the city for 3 days and hitting lots of stuff. He did, old Grant did. He was disciplined. He knew how to work, right? A million miles on airplanes and all of that stuff. So
And he had
I
a
think,
product that works. So what I say about knowing when to quit. So, you don't always stick with something when it's not working. He had something that got results for dealerships. He was selling a sales training program. So he had a product that worked. He just didn't, he just would face rejection because dealers are
yeah,
set in their ways. They don't want to, change anything, and they're a hard sale. So he cut his teeth there, but he knew his program worked. So if you've got something that works, you've got proven, proof of concept, and you're getting rejection, you push through that and you keep going, because eventually it will work. And a lot of people will give up right before the biggest hit happens. So
yeah.
that's the difference. If something ain't working and people aren't getting results and people hate what you're doing and you're getting bad reviews, well, you gotta go do something else.
Exactly. So number two for Grant, and I think this is probably always been true, but it's been accentuated in this social media environment of instant gratification, and that is patience. The average person doesn't have patience. They don't let for me they don't let momentum. They don't let things build over time, right? Wealth comes with time. But what do you think he means by patience? And then your little twist.
Yeah. So, again, a number of things, but that's really it. The delayed gratification, doing what you have to do today so you can do what you want to do tomorrow, putting in the hours, putting in the reps, whether you're making money or not, whether you get paid or not. I had this conversation with somebody the other day. I spent a lot of time in businesses where I didn't get a paycheck. My employees did. Everybody else got paid, but not me. And,
Mm.
and I was putting, 20, 15, 20 hours a day in and not getting a dime for it. Why? Because I knew the reward and the payoff was coming down the road, once we hit critical mass. So, it's in this day and age, it's difficult too, especially for younger people, because they've grown up in an instant world.
Mhm.
Everything you want's at your fingertips. You just, it's on your phone, and you get the instant gratification of sharing something with those, with the feedback of the likes and the shares and all that and the comments. You want something from Amazon. I want it now, and everybody's like anxious because they want it now. They got to have it now. And those types of things, so it's making it even more difficult for people. And then, there's patience when it comes to, putting a plan in place, working that plan and letting the results come, markets. So the biggest mistake most investors make in markets is they're not patient enough for the return to pay off. They want instant in and out, in and out, in and out. When, the biggest mistakes I've made is selling too soon.
Mm.
When I got in at the bottom in '09, I sold too soon, made good money, had a great return, but I sold too soon. Same thing in 2020, because I just didn't know how far things would go. Now I do. Yeah, now I know where they can go. But, that's where some of the biggest mistakes I made, not buying at the wrong time, but selling at the wrong time, in the market. So, not patient enough to let it play out a little longer. But again, I had no idea how far they would go. And, many people didn't. We found out markets
Yeah.
can go to extreme levels with the Fed doing what they were doing. But,
Yeah.
that's the key. Patience is the key in a lot of things. You got to give things the time to work themselves out, to percolate, and to understand that, sometimes, like I said, that ultimate result is just right around the corner. A lot of people will give up too soon before they just, they've got that one more door to open, and they give up before they open that door.
Yeah. One of the things that I always try to communicate about real estate investing is the first 3 to 5 years suck. It's just so slow, right? For most people, that extra 100, 200, 300, $400 a month cash flow doesn't move the needle. But once you get to like year 3, year 5, wherever it is in your market, and you have the opportunity to recycle capital, that's where things just explode, right? We got to 8 homes, and then we recycled capital via 1031 exchange, and that was game changing. And then the ability to do cash out refis or sell and book profits. I mean, it takes time. We all
That's
want
in
it tomorrow.
your method, one rental
Yep.
at a time with single family
Correct.
homes. Yes, that's a slow process if you have limited resources and you're doing it literally one house at a time, because you got to get the property, you got to add the value, you got to refinance it. That requires seasoning. You can't just refinance the day after you purchase it, unless you're using private money. Then you can do it quickly. But there's ways to accelerate that, and one is
Sure.
using private money. So you get a pool of investors that put up your money, so they pay cash. You use their cash to buy the house, renovate it. Then you can go to a lender and refinance and pull the cash out. And you can do 10 of those in a week if you want to,
Yeah.
because you got
The
private
teams
money
though.
funding the acquisition. So you refinance it, pay them off. Hopefully you have enough equity where you've got no cash in it. So if you take that to the next level, like I did, and use it for, development, because that was my model in development, although I was using cash from my businesses as a down payment. So, I didn't have limits necessarily in terms of what I could do. Then you scale to bigger properties, and that's Grant Cardone's business model. We're talking about
Absolutely.
Grant. That's what he does. Buys them,
Yeah.
adds value, refis, pull the equity out, pay investors off, keep going.
There you go. And then the last one for Grant is, and I'm going to really love to hear this one, because I think this is a weakness of mine, not thinking big enough. What do you think Grant means by that, and your special twist, if you don't mind?
Yeah. So all you know is what you know. And most people, don't know what they don't know. And what most people don't know is how big you can really go, how much you can really accomplish, and what the possibilities really are. And that there really are no limits, obviously physically and, things like that. But when it comes to, business opportunities, there really are no limits if you're willing to educate yourself, build your resources, and take risk, and take, chances when the opportunities come to take that step. So, a lot of people just think really small because of where we came from, a lot of us, and in terms of our limitations that are built into us. And that's really what it is. It's limiting mindset. It's those, self-limiting beliefs that we have, that have been ingrained in us since we were young, that we just don't know what we don't know. We don't know what's possible. We don't know what's capable. And all you got to do is look around, because whatever you think is not true, you can find somebody that's doing it at exponential levels. And if they can do it, you can do it. You just have to have what they have: knowledge, skills, and ability, and open yourself up to it. And that's what I love about it, because when I learn and when I find out things, what I find out is how little I really know. And when I get to places where I think are really big, at one point, once I get there, I'm like, wow, man, I can go much further, much deeper, much bigger. And, and then there'll come a point where, you've done enough, and enough is enough, and you can settle in. But at the end of the day, that's really what it is. We don't know what we don't know.
I want to go back to when you launched your business, right? When you were doing decks and all the odd jobs that you were doing. What did Greg Dickerson think? Where did you think that would go? Were you just so focused on getting the next job you didn't really envision, or did you already have a vision of what would ultimately come of that initiative?
Yeah, no, I had the vision of what would come with what I knew and saw at the time. And in my vision evolved every week, every month, every year. The more I did, the more I realized I could do. And
Awesome.
again, I came from a place where I didn't know anything. I mean, I started with nothing. I had no money, no contacts, no talents, no skills. I wasn't good really at any of the work I was doing. What I was good at was taking action, selling, and keeping going and staying motivated and pouring into myself and building my skills, my beliefs. You know, it all started with marketing, but it all started with a vision too. Like literally every aspect of my life, every stage that I went through, I saw it first before it happened. I saw myself building this company, hiring these people, and I had to learn along the way, because I mean, I didn't go to college. I had a high school education. In fact, I took a GED. I didn't even graduate, but I took my GED so I could join the military. I had some training in the military, got out, had some corporate training. So when I started my business, I was doing it all from the ground up, from what I learned. I didn't have anybody there coaching me, teaching me. I read books and just kind of, followed the path. So I did a lot of things that I thought was the way to do it, which turned out not to be the way to do it, that I learned later, but those, the path that I took is what taught me. Like I tried to do everything in-house initially, with all, in-house labor and all that. And that wasn't efficient. That wasn't the best way to grow and scale, but I grew and scaled that as far as it would go. Then when I realized, wait a minute, where I wanted to be as a developer, you have to evolve and you have to outsource and you have to leverage and, all those things. And it's that whole, employee to self-employed to business owner to investor. And that's the journey I took. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read those things. And I said, wait a minute, I've been an employee my whole life. Now I'm going to be self-employed. I have to evolve to business owner and then ultimately to investor, which was Rich Dad. I wanted to be Rich Dad. So that was my example, but there was no how you actually do it in there. They didn't tell you how to do it.
Oh, that is awesome. And you know what? If we have time, maybe we'll sneak that in is episode number 4, being Rich Dad. Because again, I read that book and I was like, I want to be Robert and Kim. You read that book, you want to be Rich Dad. I still think that's comical. I've laughed about that a dozen times. But before we get into that, where can people find you?
Yeah, gregdickerson.com. That's where all my info is. Go check it out.
Thank you, buddy.